There have been quite a number of updates across ChatGPT Ads, Google Analytics 4, and Reddit citation patterns inside of AI overviews. So in this video, we're going to walk through each one of those. Let's get into them. Perhaps the biggest change is in ChatGPT Ads. So if we look at what they released, this was about 24 hours ago, they made some adjustments inside of the Ads Manager itself, mostly quality of life things like adding bulk edits, adding custom CPM max bids, which is nice across some of your ad groups, and even flexible budgets on a weekly allocation of spend. They haven't increased the additional countries that you can target now. And one of the bigger updates, though, that I really want to talk about, and this is a big one, is the ad experience. So I don't know why they left this at the bottom. I think this is a very large update, but they're beginning to test multi-advertiser placements in ChatGPT. So essentially what that means is right now there's one ad that populates inside of the LLM after you've prompted once or twice. There will actually now be multiple ads, multiple relevant ads together within a single placement. And it is priced through a second price auction model. My opinion on this is twofold. One is this was bound to happen. It's a lot like having bottom of the search engine page for Google Ads. The second thing here is this is a way for, I believe, OpenAI to squeeze more value out from the campaigns that maybe aren't pacing budgets. So if they're able to basically place 3 times the number of ads when an ad is served, then they're going to be able to scale the budgets more appropriately, which is going to lead to higher revenue for them, right? But then for you as a digital marketer, if you're running these campaigns, more consistent spend numbers and daily pacing. Now, this is important for you to just monitor as this adapts, because as this kind of continues on, because this is going to fundamentally change the way you actually position your ads. Now, as of today, there are no like ChatGPT competitor tracking tools. So if someone is bidding on your brand or bidding on like context for your brand, there's not really an easy way for you to know that without just kind of spamming ChatGPT and trying to figure that out. I do think that there's an opportunity for someone maybe out there in the universe to develop a tool like this, similar to, Google Ads and SEMrush, and how you're able to see if people were bidding on your term there. So I do think that there is an opportunity here, but this is a pretty big update and it's at the bottom of the email. So I think they kind of didn't want you to see it. These quality of life things obviously are just going to make it easier for you to run more campaigns. The bulk edits really just allude to the people that are power users of ChatGPT right now. ChatGPT Ads, I should say, where essentially they have 20 or 20 plus, ad groups for their campaigns. I do think there's big opportunities, and some brands are taking massive advantage of this and some aren't. But overall, it's a pretty big update, and it was just sent on a really quick email, a product update email. So big update. All right, another fairly large update has rolled out for Google Search Console, where now there is a generative AI performance report inside of a subset of test accounts for Google Search Console. So this isn't rolled out to everyone yet, but it is coming to everyone soon, and they're just testing it now, probably for larger accounts. Now, so basically what it means is you're just now able to see an additional tab under performance, and it will just be labeled generative AI. It's going to only give you impression data right now, but it also gives you some other interesting items. So for example, you'll be able to see how often your URLs from site appeared in generative AI features in search and discover, which is going to be really useful. Again, this is similar to what I talked about in my Microsoft Clarity video. Google Search Console is basically competing with Clarity here for this effect. You're able to see the pages or the URLs appeared in the features, which is really nice. Again, that's something that you'd only be able to get from paid tools. So this is a win for us free users, but something that I believe is somewhat unique. I know this is probably pulled in for some other tools, but depending on how accurate it is really up for question. Now you have very up-to-date or accurate information on the countries that your what your AI visibility looks like by country, what it looks like by device, and what it looks like by date, which is actually really, really important, because if you're pushing content, you can see how long it takes hourly, daily, weekly for that content to get cited in AI overviews, and you can kind of reverse engineer as an SEO like what features of that page actually got it to rank. So if one page had a video and the other page didn't have a video, and that, first page that had a video ranked within a week, then you know that you should probably include videos in all of your content moving forward. So this is going to be a really nice quality of life feature for SEOs out there. And so, yeah, I think this is a really big update for Google Search Console. All right, and for the final piece that I want to discuss here is ChatGPT is now explicitly searching for Reddit 24 times more often in its query fanouts, and Reddit now takes back its first place with 8.5% of all ChatGPT citations. Now, if you're on LinkedIn, you've probably, and you're in the AEO space, you've probably heard of this guy, Josh Blyskal. He's awesome. I've been following him for a year now since he's been at Profound. There's a really long post here that he kind of walks through the data, and there's a lot of engagement here. I just wanted to break down practically what this means for you, because as he mentions here, yes, Reddit is back at first place, 8.5% of all ChatGPT citations. However, the takeaway is not to go spam Reddit. That's probably the worst thing you could do. And so what does this actually mean? Well, I made a quick diagram that kind of explains exactly what you should be doing because of this. So if you're an AEO and you're working for a SaaS brand, this is what you need to understand. If you want to get cited more in ChatGPT, Reddit is just a leading indicator of citations for high intent searches. But here practically what you can do is this. So number one, this is all pulled from Josh's post, by the way. So I'm not making this up on my own. This is all pulled from his post. Number one is, instead of just like spamming Reddit, what you want to do instead is to pull the query fanouts for your highest intent prompts before you look at citations. So look at like what is actually being looked at by ChatGPT whenever a high intent prompt is triggered. That's number one. Number two, bucket these source words that ChatGPT adds on its own. So I'm getting into that. We'll get into that down here. But once you bucket those source words together, you're actually going to want to just ask the question, like, are you actually present in the places for those words? Now, when it says words, like what do I mean by that? Well, ChatGPT will effectively add words to when it's doing its searches to help understand like where it should be looking. And so Josh kind of outlines a few things here. So he says, when it adds Reddit, it wants lived experiences. When it adds G2 or Capterra, it wants third-party review data. When it adds GitHub or Docs, it wants implementation proof. And when it adds pricing alternatives or versus, it wants buying context pages, not your generic category explainer. Now, this makes sense logically, right? But how practically can you use this? Well, let's just look at this practically. Again, this is pulled from Josh's post, but these are the 4 key ways to improve your visibility for high intent searches. So if, for example, Reddit is being searched and the prompt is alluding to a lived experience, or ChatGPT is pulling from a lived experience and it's pulling from Reddit, then you're going to want to look at the Reddit threads it's pulling from and just check and see if the info is outdated. If it is outdated, that is an opportunity for you to improve it and add context, and that, that it's new, or new context, I should say, that, basically becomes the source of truth, preferably, right? So we're not spamming Reddit. We're being very intentional about it. Number 2, get more reviews for G2 or Capterra listings. If it's adding G2 or Capterra, it just wants to see credibility from third-party review data, not just from like your website. So again, like, improve your G2 and your Capterra listing. That's going to help you get cited for your high intent searches. Number 3, improve Docs or GitHub for use cases and proof. So if it's looking for proof, just improve your use cases on your website or your Docs. That's going to help a lot whenever it's doing its query fan out. Last thing, if it's looking for pricing alternatives or versus, and it's doing that within the LLM interface, then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to create comparison pages, not just have your pricing page, right? So your brand versus other brand, right? These are things that have been discussed before. These are not new ideas, but this is just validation, again, with the trend of Reddit now getting more of citation volume at overall 8.5% of all citations. It's a huge percentage. And I'm sure this is larger for some industries over others. But that being said, it's more important than ever to, be strategic about the Reddit threads you're updating, to update your G2 and your Capterra listings, to improve like use cases or proof pages, and finally have comparison pages on your website and control the narrative around what your brand looks like to competitor brands. So big update in the Reddit space and specifically for ChatGPT. Hope you guys found this video useful and informative. And if you did, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below if there's anything else you'd like me to cover. I cover all of this on my LinkedIn newsletter every single Friday. I send one out just covering all the updates. So if you don't want to miss any of this in the future, be sure to subscribe there. It's completely written by me and it's completely free. Hope to see you guys in the next video and talk soon.